Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Eye on Icon. Today we bring you the news, the latest news that has happened across Icon in the last week. And as always, this show is brought to you by Icon Plus. Icon Grapher, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Price has been kind of stably last few days, but I've kind of seen something happen where Bitcoin obviously shot up. I think it's a little over 6,300 at this point. Ethereum's obviously doing well, and I've started to notice, some of the other coins in the top 20-ish are starting to make little runs now. So I'm wondering if this recent surge that Bitcoin does is kind of flowing down the waterfall, and maybe by the time folks are listening to this, ICX will start to make a bit of a move too. But either way, it was nice seeing Bitcoin lead the way. Obviously, it kind of freezes the alt market for a little bit, but it usually does kind of create fuel that's necessary for the next kind of push up. So should be fun. Hopefully a fun rest of the week for those who are watching charts.
Well, I like to think the show has a bullish effect on the ICX price, so fingers crossed as soon as we post this, boom.
Yeah, we'll push it over the edge. Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Well, look, let's dive in, Icon Grapher. What have we got? What's the first thing off the ranks today in the world of Icon?
So one of the cooler pieces of news that came out, and ironically, kind of almost a little bit overshadowed, was the Seoul Citizen Reporter, which is basically the way to kind of look at it is it's a blockchain-based communication hub for the city of Seoul. It operates through I think it's pronounced Zhang, which is the app that kind of serves as the main, I guess, hub. Main application for a lot of Icon's public chain decentralized ID services. And what it is basically, as far as I could tell, there was a lot of the articles coming out were kind of mostly just translations, at least having to use, Google to translate. It's just a way of disseminating news about kind of what's happening in Seoul, from an official standpoint, whether it's actual news stories or other events or things that are just kind of happening that people should be aware of in the city. And so it's not necessarily something that needs to be on a blockchain. All at the end of the day, all it is kind of official messages. But there might be people out there who try to kind of claim something's an official message and isn't necessarily. So there's a bit of a use case there. But the way I kind of see it is, it's an opportunity. For a while now, Icon's been working with Seoul, which is the capital of South Korea, their local government on kind of, they've had an existing partnership for a while, a lot of different trials and kind of playing around with different ways to utilize blockchain for some public services. And so I see this as kind of an easy way to try out kind of an expanding of that relationship and a different way to try blockchain in a way that if it doesn't work exactly the way they think it is or hope it is, it's not going to be cataclysmic. So I almost see it kind of as a pilot program because again, it is really, in my understanding, it is relatively simple to carry out. All it is kind of just pushing out, an article or something like that, but doing so on a blockchain. So this is I believe it uses Proof, which is the same system that, diplomas were issued on last year when there were, during COVID, as well as other certifications just to show that they're, not forgeries or anything like that. And so again, it's not this earth shattering, oh my God, this is going to change the world kind of thing. But again, it is another example of adoption of the blockchain by a government on the Icon public chain. So I think when you boil it down to that, that's really impressive news. And Fez and I were talking about before the show about this briefly, just that it's, but during the bear market, most of the news that we got and most of the news that we got excited about was basically stuff like this, right? A partnership had kind of evolved. There was another little driplet of information, a sense that, things are still moving in the right direction, which it certainly is. But now we have so much other stuff going on Icon, whether it's Balance, whether it's all these NFT platforms being built, whether it's all the other DeFi platforms coming out soon, and everything else, all the CPS proposals floating around, everything else basically we're going to talk about on this episode. It almost kind of gets, overlooked, swept under the rug, whatever it is. So in some sense, it's a good thing because it shows that we're really diversified as an ecosystem and, not 100% reliant on, a government deciding to go in this direction. But at the same time, it is kind of, you would like to get more mileage out of what is kind of one of the original bigger use cases for Icon. And, theoretically, that kind of to a certain extent, huge news. Again, like I said, it's just another iteration of government using blockchain for governmental purposes. But again, just with so much going on, it kind of got lost in the noise a little bit. So a bit of a mixed bag, but overall certainly positive, both for both news specifically, but also obviously for the the state of the Icon ecosystem as well.
2018, this stuff would have blown hats off, and I think this is a good thing. It goes to show the evolution of the market as a whole. It's not just blockchain or key buzzwords kicking off any kind of excitement. Here's a great use case. It's implementing, as you said, Proof. Proof has been out for a while. It's about issuing university degrees, a job. I think, there's what is it? One of the recruitment agencies. That's how they use Proof to issue their certificates and various other things. So that is used via the public chain, and it's great to see something else being added to the application that's being built. So with you, yep, it got swept under the rug, and wanted to, and this goes hand in hand with what we've been saying in the last few episodes. This kind of news will start taking a back seat because there's so much going on the actual public chain side, and this is exactly what transpired here. So I'm glad we didn't miss it and we're able to call it out, because it is big news. As we keep getting adoption on that side, it just helps build Icon's case as, there's a public chain aspect that is going gangbusters, but there's the entire adoption from the government side that's just happening in the background. But it'll take longer than anyone had envisioned, because it's government stuff. That's what always happens, especially here in Australia. If the government's working on something, expect it to take years.
So another piece of news, Craft, which is one of the NFT crafting platforms, but also marketplaces, they have launched their alpha officially. So it is being operated on testnet. So what you can do is you can go into their platform, you can mint an NFT, you can buy or sell the NFTs that have been minted, and really get a sense of exactly how things work. The only key thing to point out is that the ICX being used is testnet ICX, so it's not actual ICX. It just replicates how ICX would work on mainnet. So you can go pretend to be a millionaire and purchase an NFT for a million ICX if you want. Again, knowing that it's not actual ICX. As another note, this is an alpha, so they're using it as an opportunity to kind of work out kinks and bugs and everything like that. And so if you have some feedback, whether it's, hey, this isn't working, hey, this is confusing, hey, I think if you guys did this, it would look better, or whatever it might be, if you submit it to Craft, you can earn a NFT from them when the platform launches on mainnet. So it's unclear. I don't think they've released details exactly what the NFT is or anything like that, but again, it's something for basically nothing, and what you're contributing is you're really helping them figure out the best way to build and fix and tweak their platform. And on that note, they've already tweeted a couple times about how a number of different user suggestions, whether it's changes to UI or again labeling something different. Nothing, as far as I can tell, hugely significant, but a lot of these small changes can make a huge difference. A lot of the user feedback has already been implemented into the alpha, so they're moving clearly pretty quickly here, and they're certainly listening to feedback. So if you do have an idea or something that you think would look a little better, or anything like that, do submit it, because it's not like it's going to get submitted and then just vanish into the universe. They are listening, and those changes that they think would be valuable and important, they're implementing.
Yeah, look, it's great. I've been using it on testnet. While Icongraph, I wish I could stack unlimited ICX. The faucets that have been that dispense ICX have limits. Unfortunately, just 2,000 ICX a day. So,
you can buy an ICX 2,000 there. So
yeah, that's right. Well, day by day, I'm trying to become an ICX whale on testnet. I know it means nothing, but it just feels good.
Yeah. It feels good to look at the numbers.
Exactly. So I have been testing it. I've put a couple of tweets out. The other day I woke up to some royalties. I put in the first logo I ever created for crypto setups as an image and sold it. The guys, I believe one of the team members of the Craft of the team bought the NFT and I think put it on sale again, and I got my royalties. I was like, oh, this is awesome, just seeing it happen. But you're right, there's been a ton of feedback, and they've iterated very quickly and pushed out updates, which is great to see. Overall, the platform is looking great, incredibly easy to use. I literally didn't even look at the FAQs. I just clicked a bunch of buttons and I was able to get my item listed. It told me all the information I needed to know. So very excited to get to see this marketplace go live on mainnet. Honestly, just between us, even the way it's functioning at the moment, it's mainnet worthy in my eyes. So it's great to see the extra love and care being given to it before it gets pushed out to mainnet.
Yeah, absolutely. Another piece of news, Spleen, who is a name that a lot of people, especially if they've been around the Icon community for a while, should be fairly familiar with. Of course, he spells it with a 3 in place of one of the E's. He is part of the Icon Nation team, or at least has been historically. He is officially handling the Icon mainnet static audit process. So for those who don't know, if you want to deploy a contract to the Icon mainnet, it actually, you can't just go on there and say, okay, I created this DApp and I'm going to deploy it to mainnet immediately. It has to go through a bit of an audit process just to make sure that there isn't any nefarious code or anything that could cause issues or anything like that. And so what he is doing is he's encouraging folks to reach out to him before you deploy it, and he'll audit it not only to make sure that it gets accepted by the foundation of the network, but also just to make sure if there's any actual, even outside of the audit process, if there's any vulnerabilities or potential issues with your DApp that could create issues for either the DApp itself or the network or users or whoever else. And he'll do that at no charge. So certainly a very nice service. Spleen's one of the more prolific and I would say expert level developers that we have, who doesn't work directly for the foundation or Icon Loop or anything like that. So just another nice little toolkit overall in the Icon dev community, which just gets stronger by the day. So not super, unless you're a developer, this probably isn't the most ground shaking news. But again, it's just a nice little benefit and another little change and addition that is making life a little easier for those who want to develop on the Icon network. And at the end of the day, that's a really critical effort that gets taken up, just because the more developers there are, the stronger their ecosystem.
Yeah, look, I think it is big news. The idea that this is being moved away from the foundation is a good thing for the Icon ecosystem. We're not dependent on that. The foundation is there just to hover in the background. It shouldn't be. Everything shouldn't be going through the foundation. Then we're not really decentralized. So when I saw this news, it was worthy of a call out. Even when you look at like a very decentralized chain like Ethereum, the foundation just hovers in the background, kind of trying to create whatever it does via grants, etc., etc. But those key decisions, really, it's all everyone kind of fighting it out to agreeance. So this particular process is great to see that it's being handled, not by the foundation. It was a great little bit of news.
And my understanding is with Icon 2.0, there won't be a similar requirement for the audit itself. You can actually just go on there and deploy the contract. I'm not sure, technically speaking, what legitimizes that change or anything like that. Just I assume something to do with the Icon 2.0 architecture. That's something that a lot of developers have mentioned is a pretty cool feature, just so it doesn't slow down if they have updates or anything like that. They don't have to wait for someone to sign off on it or something like that. So I assume once that comes along, Spleen will be doing less of that, but at the same time, I imagine he'll still be doing plenty of on the auditing side of things in terms of the actual, not necessarily the contract itself, but I guess more how the application's set up, just to make sure there's no vulnerabilities and the contract can't get exploited or anything like that beyond what a audit by the foundation might discover.
Yeah. So next bit of news, and we tend to have a bit of NFT news each week. So the NFT Bazaar beta from Spartan Node. Now I'm going to be very brief here because Spartan Node are actually going to be our guests on the show this week as well. So I'm going to deep dive into the NFT Bazaar and some of the unique mechanics they've got in play here using the LDX token and some of the differentiating factors. But overall, they had a closed beta. I tested out their product. It's looking great. It does support music files as well, which is great to see. And I believe now they've opened the beta app to everyone. I saw a tweet last night before going to bed. I haven't checked in since then, but we'll bring you more about their NFT Bazaar in the next, by the end of the week, when we sit down and have a chat with everyone. So looking forward to that. Unfortunately, Icongrapher won't be there because he's on vacation. Everyone needs to take a break once in a while, so gonna miss you, man.
Yeah, well, I will as well, but certainly haven't had one basically since COVID started, so certainly looking forward to this one.
Well deserved. Okay, so moving on to the next one, Wallet X. So this again was something in the background. We called this out a few weeks back, probably a few weeks back. It's a new wallet for Icon, and the best part about this is it supports the Icon name service, which is INS. So if you didn't know what that is your traditional wallet address that is a big address that you have to pass on. You can actually replace this with a name of anything as long as it's available. So you pay a bit of ICX and you save that name like a website essentially. So the wallet launched. I downloaded it the other day. It's really nice, really slick. At the moment, you can basically hold your ICX, stake your ICX. It's just your typical wallet, but for the Icon ecosystem that supports this function of the Icon name service INS. And for the everyday person, for example, I have an ETH address with similar, which is ENS, and I have it named. So instead of typing the big address that I need to send to it each time, I can just literally type the name I've allocated to the address and send it through. It's far quicker when I'm using all various apps and sending a lot of tokens around. Obviously, these days I don't send much around on Ethereum given the gas fees, but on Icon I do send a lot around. So if I can replace it with a name, how handy is that? So it's quite a cool wallet. If you haven't already, I encourage you to download it and check it out. It's extremely easy to use, and it's just like every other wallet in the crypto ecosystem. So from a functionality wise, very simple to jump in and understand what's going on.
Yeah, it's certainly nice. If you want to, instead of having to send a transaction to a wallet address of HX6J2NYT, whatever it is, for however many symbols and letters that is. Instead, if you wanted to, Fez could go on there and register just the name Fez, FEZ, assuming there's no minimum character limit. And then, if anyone wanted to ever send him money, rather than having to know his address, they could just send it to kind of @Fez like they would on Venmo or another application like that. So certainly a nice little step toward making crypto a tad bit more accessible. And I think this is something we'll see kind of proliferate a bit more moving forward in the future, just again to make it easier to transact. So certainly a cool wallet. There aren't a whole lot of reviews up, but the two I saw were very positive. So that's certainly something nice to see. The next bit of news is Scott Smiley is conducting an AMA with Edgeware. Actually, it is Tom Ivy, who is from Edgeware. I believe he's kind of the main marketing communications person. This will be on April 14th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that is about 18 hours from now as we're recording. So hopefully you have a chance to listen to this by then, or you've already seen it. They've been promoting it for a couple days now. Good, and Edgeware, if you don't know, is one of the parachains that ICX or Icon will be looking to connect to via BTP. This is one of the Polkadot parachains. So it obviously got kind of mentioned in the news releases that came out last week, 2 weeks ago, when all the BTP news came out. So for those who are kind of still a little confused, maybe want to get a bit more insight as to how exactly this integration will work and what it'll do, I assume this AMA is basically designed exactly for that. So if you have a chance to get questions in, if you haven't already, feel free to do that, and be sure to take a look at it. We'll include a link in the show notes to some of the details about the AMA, how to watch and how to participate, and I'm sure there'll be some summaries written up and transcripts and everything like that. So certainly something that'll be pretty informational and pretty helpful for the community.
Yeah, look, remember, Edgeware is the team that the BTP working group have been working with that has enabled this cross-chain integration with the Polkadot parachain. So I'm very excited. Actually, I missed this and stumbled on this last night, and I thought, oh my god, great! Cannot wait to actually tune in, because really hoping we get some insights on how it all came together and what's going to happen from here. So. And I just realised, those questions, get them in, find out. These are the moments that we can actually, get the information we want directly by asking those questions. So jump on. I believe we just have to jump onto the Icon Telegram group and ask away, and they note down the questions. And obviously, not every question will get asked, but the good ones will get selected and get asked. So really looking forward to this interview. I'm hoping we get a bit more insights about BTP. At the moment, anything and everything we can get on it, I'm eating up the information, so love it. So now let's just listen to a quick message from our sponsors that make this show possible. Icon Bet has 9 games live in its casino, with poker coming soon. Open source decentralized gaming, no deposits, play straight from your wallet. Icon Bet, made by players, for players. Okay, we're back. So, in our next section of news, what we wanted to do, and we were thinking about it, the CPS. So we make mention of the CPS proposals, but what's happening is things move quite quickly. Days are just rolling by. By the time we have the voting, we have the new period where people can submit their proposals. Within every month we have a whole range of new proposals come through, and essentially this is news. Yes, we can deep dive into what these projects are, but at the end of it, each time we have new proposals come through, in my eyes, this is brand new news. These are new projects people have worked through and submitted plans for and looking for funding. And, we should be calling this out in the news section. So that's what we're doing today. And we're going to run through some of the really cool things that have been submitted to the CPS as proposals and are currently being voted on. Just a couple of things to keep in mind. We don't have time to run through all of them in this show, so if anyone listening who have submitted proposals and we haven't talked through, please don't see it in any other way other than there's just only a limited amount of time in the show. So if we don't cover it,
if you bug us, we'll probably cover it though. So if you really want to see us cover it, just shoot us a message and we'll do our best to integrate it into a future episode.
Exactly, and if we don't catch it this episode, we will cover off, in the following episode, because CPS is 15 days, voting 15 days, and then we roll on to the news. So we have a month to cover off all the new proposals that hit the system. And Icongraph are quite a few this time, isn't there?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it kind of reminds me how the P-Reps came out, where as soon as the doors opened, there were a few, but it certainly wasn't like a mad rush at the beginning. I think some people were kind of trying to see how the first round played out, what kind of how proposals got voted on, which ones got approved, which ones didn't, and that way they could kind of tweak their own proposals to make sure that they got, they were putting the best foot forth of sorts. Just because it does seem like, I think in the last, I was looking at the dates, just in the last 5 or 6 days. There have been probably 5 or 6 at least projects submitted. So it's definitely ramping up. It's definitely good to see. The one thing you worry about is that you have all these resources available, but nobody's taking advantage of it. But that certainly doesn't seem to be the case. So I'll start with the first one. It's called Gangster Bet. It's a digital collectible project, basically, NFT. And what it is there's essentially a number of characters that are based on, the inspiration was basically 90s of, those 1990s gangster, mobster movies of sorts. And so the aesthetic reminds me a bit of CryptoPunks. It's got kind of the more that sprites, it's got the kind of the more 80s video game style, lower resolution, but kind of a really nice aesthetic. They do look pretty good. And what it is each character has different classes. So there's different types of mobsters and different skill sets. And obviously the classes and skill sets are related. There is going to be a pre-sale for those who want to participate. And what it is they'll set the parameters as far as, what it costs to receive per NFT. And it's not that people are bidding on necessarily an NFT that they know exactly what they're getting. It's actually going to be after the pre-sale, the NFTs are going to be randomly generated based on just how it's programmatically generated. So they're on if you purchase say 2 NFTs, maybe one of them is really really good and really really rare and potentially really really valuable, but the other one might not be. And so it just kind of comes up to chance. But there's a chance for someone, even if you buy one. That could end up being the one that ends up, really a really higher level one that might be more valuable potentially than other ones. And so I assume that's the case. Either that, or there'll be, it might not be a different differentiation in terms of value, but it just might be a differentiation in terms of classes and skills and things like that. So maybe the disbursement rather than the total amount as far as skill levels and things like that. That's what's generated programmatically. And so, and the other part of this is there's what are called GBet tokens. These are generated daily over time and distributed to those who hold these NFTs. And what these GBet tokens can do are they can be used to upgrade your character and accumulate, or I guess purchase new skills. You can also use them to change the name of your character. So they do have some added value to them. And they will be presumably available for trading and everything like that. So again, they get, just by owning the NFTs, you'll have a chance to capture those GBet tokens that are given out. It's, this is a proposal that just came out, so we're still kind of getting a sense of more details and everything like that. But as of now, it looks pretty cool, looks pretty interesting, and just another NFT participant in Icon. And again, this one's a little different just because it's got more of its own internal ecosystem as opposed to, what's on Craft or what's on the NFT Bazaar is just kind of more one-off pieces of art. Maybe there's some collections, but in this case, it's more gamified, kind of similar almost to Project Nebula to a certain extent. So again, another cool thing to see. It looks really well done, and I'm certainly excited to keep an eye on it. Another proposal. Go ahead.
Graf, I wanted to make a quick comment on this one. It was only when you tweeted about it, I went and did a bit of research. Now, I knew of CryptoPunks. I haven't really delved into that. But what I loved about this, and to keep it very simple, imagine in the old days you got a card collection off something, a new cartoon or etc. Right? So they release all these cards and. Some of them, are worth a lot of money. Some of them are utter trash. But you held those cards and they had stats, etc. They essentially created this whole new branding where essentially it's these exclusive cards that are generated on the event. But the great thing is you can actually, once you own it, use the tokens to kind of upgrade and level up the cards in the way you want, making that asset more valuable. You can actually interact with your asset you own. And obviously, because it's on the blockchain and it's NFT, there's only that amount of that asset, and that's what gives it its value. So really excited to see something like this just pop up. Didn't even know anything, nothing in the background in the forums. It just popped in there in the proposal. They've already got a website. We'll include it in the show links. It's really cool. The animated characters and stuff are so like your 80s pixelated video game style, which is cool. But there's a ton of content. So it's not just we'll build this. There's a lot of work being done already, and I'm really excited to see this. I believe the event they've got proposed is May, so it's quite soon. So hopefully this passes and goes through, and we get a little bit of those unique NFT things that are happening on Ethereum on Icon as well.
Yeah, and it looked like, based on the early voting, it looked like things were moving in the right direction. I don't think I saw any no votes or anything like that. So they've hit. I think they've hit the stake vote, but they need the numerical vote still. I got it the other way around, but I think that way I phrased it is correct. So and then another new one is called they call it the Icon Production Stack. This gets really technical, so I'm not going to go into a lot of depth here, just because I'm a bit out of my element to a certain extent. But essentially, it's kind of a suite of tools, making it easier for access to blockchain data for people who are building dApps on Icon. So whether it's Balance or another DeFi app, they've listed a couple others who would stand to benefit. Again, very thorough proposal, a lot of technical stuff in there. Definitely looks like the team knows what they're doing. It's built by Geometry Lab, which is a cryptocurrency and decentralized finance research and development lab. And while the entity is new, the members came from Insight, who had been active in the Icon ecosystem since before decentralization. So again, not some randos that popped up or anything like that. They do have some longstanding commitment to Icon, and they clearly understand that this is something that would be necessary and needed. So I think this is something that developers are going to be really excited about, but maybe not as much for the kind of just general iconist who isn't super technical or anything like that. But either way, a cool proposal, and another one that looks like it's got pretty good support thus far.
Yep. Look, this one, and I like to call out the technical stuff, but I also like to say I'm not technical in nature, but I know how important this stuff is. So, one of earlier in the background, I've had a few conversations where I keep mentioning people I'd like to see, strictly dev components come through to the CPS system, because that stuff takes time to fix, ensure there's no technical debt or there's upgrades in the back end to enable people to build whatever there is required on Icon, make it easier for everyone. So, but that stuff has to happen, and it needs funding for it. So I love this. I love that it's come through CPS, and in fact, I know Vibravid, the guys who put through CPS, they saw this proposal and straight away sent a message to us on Telegram saying, guys, some of our devs have seen this proposal and really excited for this to come to fruition, because it will make life so much easier on, and then he said a few things that got technical in nature, but I believed him. And when we have someone from an outside ecosystem who's trying to bring their dApp onto Icon, and they see some of this in the CPS, and they go to their devs and have these conversations, and the devs get excited, this is great. This is exactly what we need in Icon. So fantastic. Love that this is being put through CPS, and love it even further that all the P reps are kind of just on board and understand how important it is. Okay, the next one, the Icon CPS bot. I love a good bot. So, look, this is quite simple. We have a couple of bots that, give market updates, P-Rep information. This bot is going to be designed to give the CPS send live real-time notifications about the proposal submissions and things like that via Telegram and on Twitter. Again, this is very useful. Just what we said earlier, we can see that the CPS proposal system every month is getting more and more proposals in it. Now, remember, not all proposals are going to get approved, and if they don't, a lot of the teams go back to the drawing board and see how they can make this more viable. And that's part and parcel of the process, but sometimes you just don't remember to go to the site and check everything. So this bot will be great as you're scrolling through your feeds, etc. You can see, oh, damn, okay, there's a new proposal. This one looks interesting. Let me check it out. So, yeah, and there's quite a lot of teams working together, teams that have done a lot in the Icon ecosystem. So it's a great proposal there. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's one of those things to where there's already it's so hard to track so much stuff. It's nice kind of having the whale bot, which I don't know if everyone subscribes to or follows on Twitter, but I certainly do. And having something similar where it's just kind of I know I don't have to go back and check the CPS all the time, or work really hard to kind of figure out what exactly is going on, and what's getting proposed, what's getting tweaked, whatever else it might be. So to have a place it's kind of centralized is just kind of like here's your quote unquote news feed of everything that's happening in CPS that you can either go to or is obviously distributed in your Twitter timeline or potentially other places. I think that could be certainly helpful, and it's really going to be nice to have. I think CPS is one of the things that could be a really good community-led, community-backed element of Icon, and if people aren't kind of aware what's going on or anything like that, it's all entirely falls on the shoulders of P-Reps, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think it makes for a stronger system if there's more information being disseminated. So certainly a nice little tool that's being built, and excited to see it implemented.
Yep, excellent. Now, one more proposal we'll cover off, and then we'll just jump into a deep dive that we got planned. Vibravid. So this is a decentralized audio video platform with an NFT marketplace. Now, this team currently has an established dApp on the Tron blockchain, and it's like your YouTube / library Odyssey. At the moment it's a platform where anyone can upload their content. It has a few unique parts to it. Now, we've spent a bit of time. When I say we, Icon Plus, myself, the team have been spending a bit of time with the Vibravid team and helping kind of streamline their proposal and what they're going to put forward, because ultimately what they want to do is integrate with quite a few chains, and Icon being one of them. They've got code deployed on the Matic sidechain, which is quite a big deal in my eyes, especially the integrations the layer 2 Matic chain involves with Ethereum and Polkadot and various other ecosystems. So, as a pure iconist, having an established DApp, a team that is got a DApp and can keep expanding to different ecosystems, getting them onto Icon is just a bonus. So it's great to see that they've kind of really streamlined and started small, integration of the Icon wallet, but in their proposal they've talked through all the extra features they're going to implement into the platform, which is an NFT marketplace and various other things. So quite excited about this one myself, and keen to see how it goes through proposal and what gets built out and how it evolves in the Icon ecosystem as well. So I wanted to call that one out. Now, there are many more. We'll go through them. We'll have a little section that we keep tackling in the news week to ensure that we cover off the proposals that hit every month in CPS. From your point of view, Iconographer, any wise words for Vibravid?
No, I think you covered that one, and it's about as well as I would have. So, good job.
Excellent. Okay, so the next section we have, and we're going to talk about, is Balanced. Now, this is big news that dropped. We were all waiting for, we were told there would be a 14-day countdown, an announcement that Balanced was launching. Then just the other day, a tweet came out that the 14-day countdown has commenced, and it will be launching on the 25th, right, Iconographer?
Yep. So plenty of time for people to unstake and get ready for that.
Exactly. So, look, what I noticed, obviously there's a lot of buzz, excitement. I also noticed on the Telegram group, there's just so many questions, and I keep saying this, I just don't think Scott sleeps, and he's answering each one of them, and even Lisa and everyone's jumped in trying to answer, but consistently everyone's asking very similar questions. So I thought, why don't we have a bit of a chat?
We're seeing the same thing on Reddit and other basically every Icon channel. So certainly still a lot, as much information has been put out there over the last year, including, I obviously wrote a pretty lengthy article as part of a DeFi guide explaining how it worked and everything like that. There's still a lot of frequently asked questions, and I think that's a bit encouraging because it shows there's a lot of people who are newer flocking, I think, to the community who maybe weren't necessarily aware of this other content that's available, and are going to kind of the most obvious place there is to ask those sorts of questions, not realizing that they've been addressed before. So, it's it can get a little overwhelming for sure, but I think it's also a good sign that there's a lot of new entrants who are certainly potentially coming in just for balance alone, potentially.
Yeah, I agree. It's great. It's great to see. So, look, let's give a quick overview. Iconographer, what is Balance? What is the Balance protocol? Very quickly.
So whether or not the best analogy is on Ethereum MakerDAO, but what it is essentially it's a lending protocol where you can borrow what are called balance dollars, which are essentially a dollar on the Icon blockchain that is pegged to the US dollar. You can take one of these out as a loan by putting up ICX as your collateral, and the ratio has to be at least I can't remember if it's 400% or 500%.
500.
I think it started at 400 and they moved it up to 500. Yeah. So if you want to borrow $100 worth of balanced dollars, you would need to put up $500 worth of ICX. And the reason you do this is loans are not a totally or collateral is not a totally newfound concept with loans. Of course, a house with a mortgage, the house is itself collateral. So if something happens to the payment of the loan or the borrower defaults, the bank at the end of the day gets something back. Similar situation with the Icon dollar, with balanced dollars and balanced. the ICX you put up is basically, if you're not there to pay the loan, at least this platform is retaining value from it. And the reason it's such a high threshold is just because of how volatile the price is. And so, if one day you wake up and ICX drops by a precipitous amount, with that level of collateral, you should be in pretty good shape to where, and the system should be in pretty good shape to where it's still able to retain a good amount of value. And of course, you can, if you fall under that amount, you can't close out your position. And if you fall below, I believe it's 150% ratio, your position gets liquidated, which means it basically gets closed out. You get your ICX, it gets closed out, and you lose a portion of that collateral. So you certainly want to avoid that. And instead, just do what you can to stay above that, ideally above that 500%. But again, even if you go below that, it's not the end of the world. You just won't be able to close out your position until you get back above that 500% collateral level.
Yeah. So I think what you said earlier, like the house, this is a great way to think of it if you're completely new to space. Imagine you had a house, okay? Completely, you owned it. You wanted to buy another house, but you don't want to sell your house. So what do? You go to a bank, and you go, I have this house, it is worth $300,000, and I need to buy that house over there that is worth $150,000. They'll give you a loan based on, they have an asset that's backing it, and you run off and you buy a house. Imagine ICX being your little house. Balanced is that platform where you can take your ICX and lock it up and take out a loan. And it's either you can view it as taking out a loan or minting an asset. Minting, which is what Icongrapher just said, a US dollar, which is called BNUSD, represents $1. Now, in the world of crypto versus the world of housing, crypto is far more volatile. So the protocol is designed to overcompensate. So you put far more into backing. So instead of, if one ICX was worth $1 market value at the moment, you'd have to lock 5 ICX to mint $1. And that's just a safety mechanism to protect its user and to protect the peg and the way things work in the background. But keeping it that simple, this is what Balance allows you to do. Take your ICX and borrow a loan, take out a loan against it. But what's really cool about Balanced is, while you're doing that, you still get your staking rewards. Because remember, majority of us that have been holding ICX until now have been reaping those sweet 13 to 10% annual rewards that we get via staking. So we can now take our assets, still stake it, still earn our 10% depending on what's going on with the network staking, and borrow money to go and do other things with it, whatever that may be. And this is why Balance is such a big deal, because these kind of protocols exist on other chains, but Balance has been designed ground up to make use of Icon's staking feature, which is unique to Icon, So yeah, that I hope that overview that we've been trying to create, this picture, has really given that concept of why Balanced is unique and different and essential to the DeFi ecosystem that's going to be, just keep evolving on Icon. So at its core, that's what Balance is about. And, Icongrapher touched on all those percentages. Yes, there's all those things at play to protect your assets, as well as there's risks involved, which I think let's tackle some of these things. So one of the things that came about with the launch, a month ago, they announced this Airdrop. And everyone's excited about the Airdrop. That's the majority of the questions at the moment are around this Airdrop. What is it? So part of the Balance protocol, when you use it, there's the Balance token. The Balance token gives you quite a few things. It gives you a say for the DAO, the Balance DAO. Now, that's a decentralized organization. Essentially, by holding these tokens, when the protocol has to make decisions, or if there are views from the community, they can put it up for a vote, and everyone gets to vote with their tokens on what way the protocol should go. It also enables you to claim a bit of the rewards the platform generates. What other things does it allow you to do, Icongrapher, the Balance token?
That's primarily it. I mean, I think the governance, some people look at governance rights and they say, well, that's kind of, they don't understand why those are valuable. But, if Balance is, at the end of the day, I think you obviously have the added benefit of receiving the actual payout, which are generated by the fees that the Balance protocol generates through a various number of activities, whether it's taking out a loan, whether it's making a trade on their DEX. I think there's probably at least half a dozen different ways that the system collects fees. So you're getting dividends from that, but also, having ownership via this token over an entity, a platform that generates, it could be, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of revenue once it gets fully utilized. You can see why that would be a valuable thing that people would potentially want to own, even aside from the actual dividends that get paid out. So I think those are the two key, reasons people will value it, and why tokens on some of these other DeFi platforms, like on Ethereum and things like that, even the ones that are solely governance rights, they're still trade for some of their market caps are in the billions, if not tens of billions, on coin market cap and things like that. So certainly a compelling reason on its own to use the platform is the fact that you get these tokens.
I agree. Now, so they announced they're going to airdrip. Now, this is where it's a bit different. The airdrip, anyone who is currently staking across the Icon ecosystem, who has voted and staked to any PREP, okay, any PREP will qualify for this airdrip. The way they qualify is a week after the Balance Protocol launches, so a week after the 25th, you would have to go to the Balance Protocol to claim if you're holding your ICX and staking it via IconX or one of your own wallets, essentially. So you would have to go every week to claim the airdrip, the Balance token. You don't need to use the Balance Protocol, but you do need to go to the Balance Protocol to claim it. Now, there's a lot of people, so how do I, what if I want to use it as collateral, etc. So there are a few things at play here. So if you do not claim every week, if every Iconist doesn't go to the Balance website and claim, whatever doesn't get claimed gets reallocated to the following week. So there is a potential that the airdrip, while the initial week the claim may be, I'm giving a hypothetical scenario here, one Balance token based on what you have staked. The following week it could end up being 1.2 because not everyone in the first week claimed. On the flip side, more people could buy ICX, and we have a huge wave of new people join the Icon ecosystem, sign up and vote, and the third week, everyone's airdrip kind of lowers across the board because all of a sudden we got far more Iconists in the Icon community, which is fantastic, and that's my hope. That's what transpires. But the airdrip essentially is a very small allocation of the overall balanced supply that is getting minted every day that gets sent out to every Iconist to claim every week. Is that a good summary, Icongrapher?
Yeah, and I think something that I want to point out is, a little earlier I mentioned how the holding the token, you receive dividends for the revenue that the platform earns. An important caveat to that is you will not be eligible to receive those dividends unless you are actively using the platform, whether it's providing liquidity on the DEX or whether it's having a loan taken out. So the dividends are there to reward active users of the platform, not just token holders. So that being said, you still get the Balance token, but if you want that additional benefit of owning the Balance token, which is the fraction of revenues that the system generates, you'll need to actually utilize the Balance protocol in order to get those. So I think I just wanted to be able to point that out.
Look, and this is just it. This is why it's a great point out, and it's actually really well designed, because the goal is not to just spread a token to anyone for no reason. Every aspect of it is designed to bring someone across the Balance protocol and look at it. Maybe the first week, third week, by the fourth week they're clicking the claim, they're like, you know what, let me just see what this is all about. And I do believe that's the goal. And once you're holding the Balance token, you see, okay, let's just say it goes up to $1. This is just a hypothetical. You have this token and you realize, oh, wait a minute, could I be earning some kind of fees, or the extra income could come through staking this token? How does that work? Let me explore that. All of a sudden, they start deep diving into how to use the Balance protocol. So, great call out, and a good point to note. So, the other part of the airdrip. Now, if you want to actually use the Balance protocol, which majority should, I know I do, you have to unstake. So the first thing is, if you're currently staked, you do need to unstake your ICX and stake it via the protocol. So that is number one. Two, you cannot pick, at the moment, you cannot pick who you vote for when you use the balance protocol and put your ICX up as collateral, because it automatically stakes it. In the background, it just allocates it to the top 100 PREPs. At the moment, though, you cannot pick which PREP it goes to. This is a great example of where the balance tokens will come in. So this can be put up as a implementation for the protocol and get voted on by all the balance users going, actually, we want in future to start voting for certain PREPs, or, when we add our ICX as collateral, we can pick which PREP it goes to. So that's a great example of how the balance governance token come into play and can be used to strategically plan the direction we want to take the protocol as a community. Okay, so coming back to, I lost my train of thought here, but coming back to the balanced, the staking. So when you do submit it, that component, you do qualify for the balance token. So once you add it as collateral, you have to take out a loan to qualify for the balance distribution. Now, you get the balance token for taking out a loan and adding liquidity to certain pairs on the DEX. So to qualify for taking out the loan, it's not just adding the collateral, it's taking out the loan that will then give you the allocation of balance that's stipulated in the white paper. So at this point, you're probably asking, well, do I also qualify for the airdrop? No, you don't. Now, I see a lot of people going, but I want to just bring a bit of perspective. The airdrop, compared to the allocation of actually taking out a loan and adding liquidity on the DEXs and things, is far greater. The airdrop is tiny compared to what you would actually get from using the protocol. So keep that in mind when you're thinking overall you're going to miss out. In the bigger scheme of things, you will earn far more balanced actually using the balance protocol than waiting for the airdrop. The airdrop, as I talked through earlier, is really designed to get those eyes onto the protocol and get that interest, which is very smart. Icongrapher?
Yeah, that's something I've seen a good amount, and the airdrop will just be the airdrip will be generated from just like we were saying, just a fraction of the overall distribution. There's no pre-sale, there's no pre-mine or anything like that, so it's not like there's an existing pile of tokens that are going to be used for the airdrip. Everything that comes from the airdrip will be a percentage of the overall token distribution for any given day or week. And so again, if your goal is to earn balance tokens, you should be using the protocol. You shouldn't just be relying on the airdrip. Of course, the airdrip will give them to you, but if you really value them and want to get as many as possible, you should happily sacrifice having the airdrip for actually utilizing the platform. That being said, certainly you can always take only a fraction of your stack and use balance and still retain a fraction of the airdrip, because obviously there's more DeFi protocols coming out and everything like that as well. So there might be people out there who don't want to necessarily take 100% of their ICX and put it directly into balance or anything like that. So again, a lot of different options and ways you can play it, but I think when it comes down to airdrip versus actually earning the balance token through the protocol, I think it's going to be, I'm certain it's a no-brainer as far as which one's the better outcome in terms of generating more of the balance token.
Yep. So is Binance supporting the airdrop?
And yeah, that's a question I've seen. I think maybe the most frequent of all, at least as far as my little world is concerned. And that's something that's entirely up to Binance. It's not up to Balance. It's not up to Icon. If you're holding your tokens on Binance, they're the ones who have the wallet address, which means they're the ones who are going to receive the tokens. And so they technically own your balance tokens from the airdrop, and they can choose to give them to you or they can choose not to. It's entirely up to them. So I'm sure the foundation can say, hey, we'd appreciate if you did this, and Balance can say, hey, we'd appreciate if you did this. At the end of the day, Binance is its own entity, and so that's kind of that's one of the trade-offs you have from utilizing an exchange for staking rather than just staking through your own wallet. Obviously, you get a bit more convenience and you don't have to worry about it as much. But when it comes down to at the end of the day, it's not your keys, so kind of in a certain way, it's not your coins. So just something to consider. And if you are staking on Binance and you really want those airdrops, so maybe consider doing it on your own, or maybe using ICX that you don't have on Binance and utilizing it for the actual platform itself.
Yeah. So to really clear this up, Binance would have to go to balance and claim, and then it's up to them if they actually distribute it to all their stakers.
Let
Because
alone, it's up to them. It's up to them both in terms of whether they want to give up those tokens, but also
yeah,
in terms of I don't know how easy it is to set up a system that they obviously have staking rewards and other
mm,
for Icon for ICX itself. But technically speaking, I don't know if it's a similar process or they'd have to build kind of a whole new side infrastructure just to handle the, we're claiming this and then we're distributing it to all these different wallets or whatever it might be.
yep, exactly. So and one thing, maybe I've seen a couple of questions around this as well. Oh, if can I through Binance go and balance? No, you can't. Remember, if you're staking with Binance, it's their own system. You don't get the interaction you get with having it on your own wallet. That's as Icongrapher said, not your wallet, not your keys, etc. So now we touched on this, but just quickly wanted to cover it off as well. How do you earn the balance tokens? So we know just via staking, you earn part of the airdrop, which is claimed weekly. The other ways is by using the actual protocol. So by using it, we mean taking out a loan that gives you a distribution of the balance token and adding liquidity to the DEX. So various pairs have a different percentage of the distribution. Now, they're strategically designed because, and let's just quickly touch on this. So we know with the basic pairs we have is the balanced USD, which is the beer dollar, versus staked ICX pairs and the balance token pair, which we can supply liquidity to. And then there's another pool that is ICX/staked ICX. So in this pool, you get rewarded a balance token because the staked ICX/ICX pool is just a pool of ICX that you can go and deposit ICX in. You earn the balance token, but when you deposit into this pool, you do not earn any staking rewards. So essentially, you're foregoing your ICX staking rewards by adding ICX to this pool. But what you are getting in return is a distribution of the balance token. So that's one. Then the other pools that are paired against any pool that's paired against a stablecoin, which is BNUSD, you're again getting rewarded in balance tokens. And at the same time, most of those pools are either it's BNUSD versus balance or BNUSD versus staked ICX. So if you have staked ICX, obviously you're still getting, because you're holding staked ICX, it's built in that you're always earning rewards on that. But those pools are subject to impermanent loss. Now, the goal here, the balance distribution, is designed to reward users for putting in their liquidity there and hopefully offset the impermanent loss. But if you are not across this concept of impermanent loss, I cannot stress this enough, that ensure you understand how it works. I see a lot of comments on everywhere, especially on the Telegram, and there's the understanding isn't on point to what will actually transpire in those pools. So, and we could do a whole episode on this, so that's why I'm not deep diving in an explanation. Icongrapher, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think when the design initially came out, they were going to be used as traditional. It was kind of set up as a traditional exchange, to where you'd have an order book and everything like that, and you'd have to kind of have open orders one way or another. But at some point, my recollection is that they decided to switch it to more of an AMM style, to where you're providing liquidity via a pool. So, I think that's more consistent with kind of the direction things are moving these days. I think it's a better. I think it's a better way to do it, and obviously it's a more decentralized approach too. So obviously it's a nice tool to earn some balance, but it's another nice way to exchange assets on Icon. Obviously, we have a couple other automated market makers, such as Unify Protocol, for example. It's kind of the most popular one. And so having another option, another place to go, and potentially, if once pairs exist on both systems, there's chances for arbitrage as well in order to kind of create price stability across the whole network. But for those who are wanting to arb the prices, you can make a little bit of a profit as well too. So a lot of added value by balance adding that DEX.
Yeah. Now, one other question I see quite a lot of is, so we know obviously we're locking up ICX, it gets staked, we're taking out a loan. When you take out that loan, there is a 1% fee that gets paid up front off the loan value. After that, there is no interest on the loan. In fact, if anything, remember your ICX in the background is staked, so you're earning interest on your ICX, and at the same time, after that fee, you don't have to pay any interest on the loan. That loan you can hold as long as you want. There's no time limit on it. What you do need to be careful of is ensuring you're keeping an eye on the price, the ICX price. So if you've taken out a loan, like you put 5,000 ICX and borrowed 1,000, which ensures your risk ratio is quite low, you're very well collateralized, then you're quite safe. But if you're cutting it fine and really trying to maximize mining the balance token right up there, and if you've used the site, you'll have perspective of what I'm saying, then you need to keep an eye on Icon's price, ICX, because ultimately, remember, your loan has to be over collateralized by 500% to ensure you're earning those balance rewards. So that is probably the biggest thing you have to worry about if you're looking to borrow very close to that threshold. I often have been tweeting and saying I play it extremely safe, because remember, at the end of the day, if you are taking out a loan and you take out a very big loan and keep it right on the edge, if Icon's price suddenly deep dives, which is known to happen in the crypto markets, not just to Icon, to every cryptocurrency, they can nosedive. And if you haven't protected yourself and you find yourself in a position where your collateral could get liquidated, you haven't got enough ICX backing the loan you've taken out, the first version of balance would sell all your collateral. It would sell your collateral to pay off your debt. Okay, so this is very important to know, and I've not said this to scare anyone. This is standard process, and various protocols have different ways of dealing with this, but the first iteration of balance will sell your entire ICX that you put as collateral to pay off your debt. Again, though, that's why this only happens if it drops below 150%. Balanced itself wants you to put up to 500% collateral before you take out a loan. So there's a lot of safeguards in place, but you as a user should take that added responsibility and kind of put a good buffer in there before on the loan you withdraw, so that even if there was a nosedive in price, you have no risk of your collateral getting sold off.
Yeah, exactly. Anytime you start delving into what are financial markets, and what are, to a certain extent, relatively complicated financial markets, especially when you tap the factor in the fact that they're built on crypto, the risk goes up, and especially if you don't have a firm understanding of exactly what you're doing. So I would certainly encourage you to not necessarily take your 100% of, this isn't financial advice, but just from a risk management standpoint, you certainly, I don't know if you'd want to take 100% of your ICX and put it directly into balanced. It's certainly always better to diversify and things like that. The volatility of crypto certainly makes things a little bit, can create some anxiety, and can create some certainly problems as far as this is concerned. I think, as Fez was alluding to, there's a lot of safeguards built in. That collateral ratio is really high. So as long as you're somewhat diligent, and other than maybe some sort of violent price decrease like what happened in March of last year or something like that, and even to ICX, it wasn't as dramatic as it was to other tokens. I think as long as you're vigilant, as long as you're reasonably responsible, I don't anticipate having any problems. But again, this is a financial market. It's relatively complicated, and again, it's on crypto, so you have that added complexity and that added uncertainty as well.
Yep. Now, we had all these other plans, but as you can see, we could probably keep talking about balance. I wanted to talk through some opportunities, but we may tackle that in another episode. I think we're getting to that time as well. It's over an hour. But overall, I really hope that end section for the balance has helped shed some light or give some clarity, or even anyone new listening, give that real basic understanding concept of what balance is and what it does for the Icon ecosystem. And on that note, I want to finish that off. Ultimately, you can see now the ICX token is now used to power Icon everything that goes on. ICX is used as fees. You get staking rewards, and now with the world of DeFi balanced, you can all of a sudden take your ICX, remember my earlier example, think of them as mini houses, and essentially go to a bank, and it doesn't matter about your credit history. None of that crap matters in the world of blockchain and decentralized finance. As long as you have the token, which is ICX, you just go to the protocol, interact with it, and you can take out a loan. That's the beauty of this space. So it's great to see this extra utility coming to the ICX token, and you know, with the quality and OMM and all these other protocols launching, that utility is just going to grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Okay, Icongrapher, I think we should wrap this up. Once again, thank you everyone for listening. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe and share the content to anyone and everyone who would like to hear, especially if they want to get a bit of a breakdown about balance. This is the episode to show them, to let them listen to. It'll hopefully enlighten them as well. But that's all I have. Any closing words, Icongrapher?
Nope. I think the countdown has begun. I'm certainly excited to finally use Balance. It's been a long-awaited release, a long-awaited project. I know there were some delays, which are obviously kind of a bummer, but I think I'd almost be more concerned if there weren't any delays, just because you want to make sure the team gets the project exactly right. There's obviously been a lot of high-profile exploits in DeFi. And so to create a contract and a platform that avoids those as best as possible, obviously nothing's 100% risk-free, but to avoid those as much as possible, I think that'll build a lot of confidence, not only in this platform, but in future DeFi platforms being built on Icon moving forward.
Exciting times. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.